So today, January 2nd, I'd love to have a discussion about completions and also looking forward to last week we talked about setting intentions, for the new year. Um, and what I'd like to discuss today is something that John Roger talked about a lot and has a whole, um, he's got a meditation called Dying Each Day. It's in the Spiritual Warrior package. And he talked a lot about completions and also that each day we have a new opportunity to start anew. So there is a benefit of, it's using something like New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, a new year to focus on what you want to leave behind. And I think we've all been doing that for a very long time. And maybe we've made New Year's resolutions before and maybe kept some of them, but most likely like didn't keep them as long as we would have liked to. So sometimes there's mixed feelings about it. I mean, I stopped doing New Year's resolutions because I didn't um, like to committing to something because I found that I didn't follow through because they were just kind of like, oh, I'm supposed to do this at this time of year. And it was, it's sort of like if I go to church and they're saying something and they want me to repeat something back and I don't really feel it, but I'm just repeating the words. So sometimes New Year's resolutions felt like that to me. So I've had an experience of as I'm getting older that I don't have the goals are not as important to me. Before it was, okay, I need a goal. Like I need to create a car this year. I need to do X amount percentage better in my business. And it's about numbers and performance. And um, I see that as we get older and as I get older, I'll speak for myself and I'd love to hear from you about it. But I'm more and more aware that the journey, the daily journey is the goal. So I may have something that I want. Um, we're in a season that we're wanting to apply to colleges for my daughter. We're wanting maybe a home to stay at where she's going to be at college, or um, I'm trying to think of something that I mean, like I'm going like, oh, all these things, like I've manifested all these things that I actually do want. I've manifested already. Like I've got the house, I've got the relationship, I've got the daughter, I've got the cars, I've got the second house, and those are from like years of like envisioning, doing those kind of tools. And what I found is like after I get that, I realized that that's not what I truly want underneath all of that. The car's fine, but what experience am I having? How am I being? And that's what I would like us to focus on today is how you want to be on this journey of this year, this coming year, this or today. As a devotional practice, if we say we're doing the best we can today, and how do you want to do today? And then at the end of the day, we can celebrate how we did, and then we start anew tomorrow. So then we don't have to wait till like 6 months till you create something. It can be a celebration every day. I'm gonna read 3 John Roger quotes. Get us started here. The spiritual warrior practices dying every day and experiences rebirth at every minute. This is not physical death, but a willingness to see everything anew in each moment. Many people find acceptance just before they die. They let go. Nothing bothers them. They find peace and the love shines from their eyes. It's a blessing just to be in their presence. Do we really have to wait until we're dying to discover the blessing in acceptance? Get yourself connected to the source, which can lift your burdens from you and allow you to walk in his grace. Ask. You are one with the Christ. Jesus is our elder brother. Ask him to lift your burdens from you. The freedom you'll experience is phenomenal, and it's yours for the asking. You might as well go for it. John Roger. So as we talk about completing last year, I just don't think that for me it can just be done in a day. Like, it's New Year's Day, I'm going to complete everything from last year, because it comes up to complete when it comes up. Something might come up today from yesterday to complete, or something might come up from, I had something last night just pop into my brain that was like from when I was like 8 years old, and I needed to complete that. So I don't know when it's going to come up. So just to go today, I'm just going to do completions. We have an opportunity every day to do it, and if we ask him to lift your burdens from you, and you'll experience freedom. So again, I started off, a couple of you weren't here, but I was talking about John Roger has a meditation called Dying Each Day. And he talks about getting in the practice of, maybe at the end of the day, maybe you're in your bed or wherever you want to be during the end of the day, close to the end of the day, and that you complete each day. Ask yourself, what did I do today that I want to do more of? What did I do today that I want to do less of? And what can I forgive myself for today? And when we think about that, the outcome or the goal, the end goal, doesn't matter as much, because we don't have a lot of control over that sometimes. But what we do have control over is doing our best every day. As a devotional practice, I asked JR once, I said, what makes you keep getting up and doing this day after day? Because sometimes it looks hard, like he's going through a lot. And he said, it is my duty. And so I take that to myself when I think about what I'm doing today, or my choices. What's my duty? What's my devotional practice today? And I keep simplifying it over the years. One of the beautiful things about getting older is I'm simplifying my, I guess my goals, I guess you call it. Like earlier in my life, it was more like, I got to produce, got to do more, got to be productive, this on the treadmill. And it's so nice to be off the treadmill and thinking about how do I want to be today? And then when I can dream things, like I had dreams. I want to create this lake house, for example. A few years ago, we ended up buying the lake house, but it was like way before I ever thought it would happen. And I attribute that to be visioning it, like asking for it, and then just being the best person I could be today and each day along the way. And then there's a song, I think, there's like, put one foot in front of the other, and soon you'll be walking down the street. So anyway, that's the being in the moment, not being attached to the outcome, 100% involvement in being the best you can. and 0% attachment to the outcome. And the other thing is that people can pass away at any age. Obviously, we've had some people that we know pass away and they're very young. But eventually, like I'm entering in this time that I go like I'm sort of counting, not counting the days of my life, well maybe, but I realize I have like there's when I was younger there was this endless time I could do anything, but I'd do it later because I had like there was no end in sight in my age, if that makes sense. And now I go like, okay, there's probably, I can see, I can't really see the end necessarily, but it's not as wide open as it used to be. So there's a more of it's not an urgency, but a respect for it's time now. There's not, I don't need to wait till later. And some of us may not even be around next year to celebrate the new year. We don't know. I could be out of here tomorrow. Cancel, deflect. So there's a respect for that and go like, what do I want to, how do I want to be? I think it's especially relevant to me today. And I have had two people in my life, and they're both around 80 in the last 2 months that have passed away suddenly. They weren't sick. I just got a call or I got a text actually to say this person died. There's a neighbor friend of mine, girlfriend, and also the lake house is on my mind today. My neighbor at the lake, an older gentleman, and he was my buddy, and he died just before Christmas, and he was fine, and all of a sudden he just wasn't. So again, I go like, okay, so today's the last day. Like, what do I want to be? How do I want to complete here? I think Jer said something about like if it was he says this in one of his seminars, and I don't know what seminar it is, but it's something like if you knew this was your last day or you were going to go, like have the name of the Lord on your tongue, or like being and loving, And then he talks about the Nancy probably knows this whole story, but there's a father who owned a store, and then his kids come around his deathbed, and then his last words were like, "Who's minding the store?" Like, and then he died. So I just look at how am I being today? How can I do the best I can to be who I want to be and be more of myself and more loving and more service today. So that's the topic. And then I'd love to hear from you all, whoever would like to share. As we ask in this moment, because we're gathered here today, how can we wipe our slate clean? And if you could have your slate cleaned right now, would you allow that to happen? Would it be okay with you? Are you ready to let go of everything? Everything? Maybe just a bad thing, maybe just a negative thing. I don't know. So whatever you want to let go of. If we had the power as a group together here, gathered in the name of the Lord and the Christ and the traveler and preceptor, was to have your slate clean in this moment. And are there micro steps that you could take, or is there one micro step that you would take as we start off this new year? And recently we were talking about taking care of ourselves, and so often I think we say like, one of the ground rules in MSI is take care of yourself so you can help take care of others. And it seems so simple, but I don't know, it's so challenging really, for me anyway. And so when I can celebrate the micro steps, like I got up, today I got up and I'm celebrating brushing my teeth. And actually, I'm celebrating getting up. So the micro steps that we actually are doing and being grateful for that. And then is there a micro step that you'd like to add into your day that would move you more towards being how you would like to be? I'm just going to open it up for some sharing about that. Yes, Peggy.
Hi, everybody. This is very timely that we're talking about this today. I realize, looking at hindsight, looking ahead, is that in terms of like setting goals for this year, I realize that, and I'm going to preface saying this. Most of you that were here last week know that I shared about, my struggle with food addiction. And I'm now in a supportive group. One of the things that comes to me in the context of what we're talking about is I realize that I've lived most of my life in my consciousness and who I am in black and white. And there's been very little area for the learning curve. It's like either I failed or I won, but Cheryl, when you're talking about the journey, I realize that inside of me, in many ways, I've not left room for the journey. And so for me, this year is really about loving the journey and being open to the beauty of the journey and the learning. And I made notes here as you were talking. What's interesting is I've been listening every night to the Luxor meditation. And one of the things GR says at the end, the group is going to be retiring for the night, and they've been doing or JR's been doing a blessing, and they're all heading back to the hotel. And he says, I prefer that, no one say good night to me tonight or goodbye or whatever, because there's really no such thing. Then he says, but if you die tonight, I I hope that you will meet me with the learning that you've had in your life. And, as I'm getting older and this year, I'm really appreciating in a deeper way that that's the journey for me, is the learning and appreciation of the journey and being open to the learning. Because I realize for me, in living in black and white, oftentimes it's like I'm not open to the journey and the learning from that, and there's not much in the black or the white, but in the middle, the journey there is. So, for me this year, that is, my intention and really gratefulness that I'm allowing that in now. And so I think, when you said devotional practice, that rang true for me. And in the context of what I'm saying, I think, the devotional practice is, for me, is really holding and sending the light to me, to everyone, to every situation, to all of my learning, and just having that window and the heart open for that. And that, to me, in and of itself, like if I died tomorrow, if I've lived in that place, that's good, you know. So anyway, that's what I have to share.
Wonderful. Thank you, Peggy. Talk about the journey is the dream. Journey is the goal. Yeah. Hey, Gregory.
I guess I'll just do some stream of consciousness at the moment. I I was thinking earlier about in the life and completions and things, and I said, and I've done, I kind of made that kind of goal and things, approached it in the ways I knew how to do it at the time, and I'm just laughing to myself. It's like the world comes along and fills any spaces that come along that open up for me. It's either, I have to, the gutters aren't doing well, or I have a gopher problem at present to deal with, and I'm married and I have my wife and the things going on. All these things are going on, and so the sense of myself is 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 when I'm with myself inside and in peace and connected, are whole, and it has nothing to do with dying. Um, I I'm just kind of realized um, that like a wall that ends someplace and you bang into it and there's no other side to it. I have no idea. I have no idea where I was before I was born. I don't even remember. And to tell the truth, I I I never focus on that. Uh, uh, and my mind focuses on dying a lot because I wonder where all that comes from. So I just kind of realizing that I have no clue, and the completions and things and everything is I'll be completing whether I complete them or not. They get completed in some way, shape, and I'm everything's part of me anyways. So I have no idea about all that kind of thing, or as if there's a process that goes on. Then I was listening to Peggy, and that all goes away inside my mind, and I listen to her because I I she's important to listen to, um, and that's where my focus is in. And so, in some ways, I just kind of um, um, more and more want to just move past, when my body's not working and I'm in pain and focused on that and going like that. And I guess a piece where I look at death and uh, not that there's going to be an experience or anything. It's on where my memory works or who I am at the time. So, like I said, this is stream of consciousness is what's coming next, and that's what's coming forward. I'm joyful in that, and I'm and I like being in the peace, and I guess if there's a goal is that oneness inside of just of being at one with myself, and I don't know what that means because there's a lot of stuff that's out here in this that's what the rain's going to do with the gutter system I have, and I can't get a workman to come and help fix it. Or, I have to prune I have a whole bunch of fruit trees to prune now. The deciduous ones now that for us who have 3 seasons rather than 4, and there's no winter, um, uh, I have to get up there and I'd like to do some pruning of my apple tree and plum tree and peach trees, because the leaves are off, and do that and get them ready, because I like my orchard and eating fruit off of it, and doing those kinds of things. So hopefully I'll learn about other than what JR says, that dying is ecstatic, and so that's where I'm going, and according to JR, and everything else can be painful beforehand or disruptive, and I'll just do my best and kind of make things easier for the people around me, for my wife, and handling things if I go first, and hope everybody loves them. And oh, there is something. I have a cousin that I come from a family where on my mother's side there was 16. My father's side there was 12. So I have lots and lots and lots and lots of cousins. But I had one that's also was named the same as I am, Gregory Hawka, somewhere back east. And whenever we were younger, I think 10 or 11 years old, we kind of got together and promised to change Christmas gifts. And I never did that. So, and I got a Christmas gift from them, and there's part of me that still thinks about, God, I should send them a Christmas gift. I think for out there to see if I can find out where he is and live, and send him a strange Christmas gift that he has no idea. I mean, both of us, if we ever met. So I'll stop talking about the next person. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good. Thanks, Gregory. Yeah, it's a good example. We don't know when the completion is going to pop into our mind of something that needs to be done. Just to think that we can just do that once a year on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve and complete everything. So if we make that as much as we can a daily process with a dying each day, is there anything to complete today? Then it's a process of renewing, of coming present, freedom, things like that. And we're talking about the journey is the dream. Like, we may have a goal. I'm going to get rid of the gophers, or I'm going to weigh a certain amount, or I'm going to be a certain fitness level. And if we wait to be whatever it is we want to be, peaceful, happy, joyful, connected, until those things are done, then it comes and goes. Because sometimes I'm on my ideal weight for like 3 days, and then I'm out of it. Like, oh, I only get to be peaceful for 3 days out of like this 6-month period, or I'm not going to be happy until I think that's a black and white thinking that someone had mentioned. Like, I've either got my goal, or I'm trying to get my goal, and I can't be happy, or happy, fill in the blank, however you're trying to be, until I get that. So if we focus on being that now on the journey to wherever we're going, then that's a devotional practice, and being our best and living for today, one day at a time. And especially again at an older age, as we get older, we don't know, like, am I gonna make it till to do that thing that I thought I wanted. And then if I don't get that thing, then this whole life was wasted. Like, if you think about it in the bigger picture, right? And things do get completed. These people I was talking about that have just died suddenly recently, otherwise healthy people, and they're just gone. Like, well, everything they were in the middle of is complete now. um, so, how can we be how we want to be along the way? Anybody else want to share? Nancy Carter.
Well, I'm probably on this call the only person that's farther along the journey that you're talking about. So I think it's an appropriate question for me. I realize as you're talking, Cheryl, that there are kind of two lenses that I look through. One of them is what you're talking about, which is being mindful each day of how I want to live my life and how I want to respond to others. Excuse me, my my throat is full of gunk here. But the other lens is having the end of this life kind of present very much for me. And one of the things I realize, one of my watchwords is what JR repeated over and over and over. Excuse me again. In which he said, I'm keeping my eyes on you, Lord. I'm keeping my eyes on you. That to me is a significant question for myself. So, and I've grown conscious enough that I can kind of watch my own behavior and the words that come out of my mouth a little more closely than I used to. I live in an assisted living place, which is really terrific, a terrific place. I have only good things to say about it. But as Cheryl will tell you, I came here knowing I needed a mission. And that mission was to listen to people. And I've listened to several people here who have passed away or otherwise left the premises. And I felt okay because I'm just listening and spirit is doing the whatever work there is to do if there's any. I figure the people that come into my purview are those who need somebody to listen to them. There is one person that I'm particularly, I tried a little too hard, I think, to be present to this person who is intelligent enough to kind of see the game, but not observe herself, if I can make that assessment. And I've been trying to help her take a look at what she's doing and saying, along with listening to her. And I haven't done a good job of it. So every day I say to myself, I'm keeping my eyes on you, Lord. What would JR do here? How am I counseled by JR, the one that sits on my shoulder and basically helps me navigate my day? So that's one thing that I wanted to share. Another is that by moving in here, I got rid of a condo full of stuff. And it was made easy for me to do that. And something in me made it really easy. It's like, yeah, take that away. Do I have a shirt to put on my back? That's what I need. Do I have a computer to participate? That's what I need. And it's very satisfying. I feel like we made some really good choices. Because there are very few things that I regret letting go of. So that's me, Nancy.
Mhm.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks, beautiful Nancy. You always are a gift with your additions, your sharing. Thank you. I was reminded of in my 20s, I used to go visit my grandparents. And I remember the feeling of being with them. They had two chairs, the recliner chairs they'd sit in, and then this antique lamp that sat between them. And I remember it always felt different there to me than outside their house and in my life, which felt, bustling and things to do and goals to set. But when I was with them and talking, it just there was no time. It was just I was just being and listening. And so that, to me, that's like a reference point of what we're talking about, just being how you want and not being pushed by somewhere to go or something to do. And I see Nancy so beautifully do that, just listening in this kind of timeless space. Feeling the peace of that place. So you had your hand up. Did you still want to share?
Actually, I was thinking, my mind is going in so many different directions. So I decided to lower my arm.
Well, it's up to you.
Yeah, my focus, I never had a New Year's resolution. I used to have a lot of New Year's resolution and I always get disappointed and I eventually gave it up. I never had, and then this year, New Year's Eve workshop, seminar, not workshop, seminar, there was all these things about what you for the future. And I realized really, just now when you're all talking, a whole part of my life, I just retired last year in June, end of June. And I have, prior to that, it's all about accomplishing, getting what I want. Now I'm having a different life and I'm still getting into the routine of what's new. And yeah, and I don't want, to me, it's like the focus on the spiritual is going, for me, it's like another disappointment in life. You keep going for what you want, but you don't get it. It's going to be like that in this life. That's why the spiritual, till you die, then you'll know. But prior to that is all this disappointment and unknowing. And so anyway, I guess I got to keep a positive focus if I am to survive this world. That's it.
Thanks for sharing. And what we were talking about at the beginning is that one of the beautiful things to me about getting older is setting myself up for success in ways that before, if I had like, oh, I'm going to do all these things in the new year and set myself up for, I'm going to do more, I'm going to want more, all this thing, and then it's like it just falls apart. And then I could beat myself up about, well, I didn't do it again. See me going to do. So if I move into the being instead of some outcome that is out of my control potentially, or maybe bigger than I can manage at a time, I'm simplifying my desires, right? And celebrating. I brushed my teeth today. Go me. Uh, and seeing people year after year in my work, like realizing that when you can't stand up anymore from a chair to standing, like you realize how important that action is. So being grateful for small things that I am able to do, and celebrating those as I'm on my way to get potential things that I want. Like, if I have a goal that I want to set, but how am I being today? Maritza.
Happy New Year, everyone. You mentioned this opportunity to wipe your slate clean that JR talks about, I think you said. And this morning, the first thought that came to me when I woke up this morning was a memory of of something that I did that was negligence with my son, and he got hurt in that process. And he's 33 now, but he was then, I don't know, maybe 6 or maybe 3. I think I was still apprentice, so maybe he was only 2. Anyway, he was little. And I realized that I was still holding on to the pain of my negligence as a parent for the what caused my impatience, when you have a toddler, and as a mom, I did something that was rushed, and in that process, I hurt him, and I was aware that I still had carrying this heavy heart about it. And when you said, wipe the slate clean, I would like to clean that slate, remember the exercise that we did also at the workshop for end of year with John and Paul, which is to write and burn. And anyway, I had the opportunities to write it, and maybe an opportunity to burn it and release it and let it go. I don't want to hold on to this hurt feelings. I'd like to just release it to God, if to have the situation. And then another one came forward with my dad. Another memory is a mistake of counsel that I gave him, and he lost $10,000 as a result of my counsel, and lack of inexperience and trusting people that I trusted at the times. But it's like, oh my God, I'm still carrying this too. And so if anything, I'm going to say for me, I have an opportunity to release and forgive myself today and clean the slate today, even if these are layers. So I'll put myself for that, to clean my slate today.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I'll read the quote that was read earlier, the JR quote. Get yourself connected to the source, which can lift your burdens from you and allow you to walk in his grace. Ask. You are one with the Christ. Jesus is our elder brother. Ask him to lift your burdens from you. The freedom you'll experience is phenomenal. It's yours for the asking. You might as well go for it. Birdie.
Hi, y'all. I love this group. Thank you, Cheryl. I learn a lot, and it assists me to go deeper into my own process. And that's so funny that it's completions you're talking about. I've had lists and lists and lists for years and years and years of tons of completions. And I've done a lot of them. I've been doing them. It was actually my project many years at USM and in other classes that I've taken and am taking. And just before this meeting, I was in a closet and it's like I was looking for something and I pulled out a box and it's like, oh my God, this is all this old stuff, these envelope piles and piles of envelopes. It seems that I've picked up my mother's pattern of I might need this someday, so let me keep it. And when I cleaned out my mom's house after she died, she lived on the East Coast, Northeast, and she had a basement and an attic filled with everything, including my brother's and my clothes growing up, books, everything. And I thought, ooh, I don't want to live like that. And I don't want to die with people having to come and find all this stuff. So what was funny, and I acknowledge that I've actually been doing a pretty good job. I'm not one to start a project and take it to completion. Because of the way my consciousness is, I've finally accepted that I'll start something and then go on to something else and then go on to something and then come back to the first one. And things do always get done. But somehow that kind of variety or something about that, I don't understand it, but it's worked since I started accepting it. And what was so funny, on December 30th, what dropped in was invite anybody you can think of to a Zoom group where people could do whatever they wanted to do for an hour. And it started because I'm in this Power of Eight group with a few ministers, and we meet every couple of weeks. We've been doing this since the beginning of COVID and supporting each other. And we've met on Zoom to do freeform writing together. And that's made such a difference when I realized over the last few years that I am a people person. And I stopped everything to come tune into this group. When I have things like this, that's my priority. And so what dropped in was invite everyone to this group. And it started off, my first thought was, well, I'll on January 1st from 4 to 5, I'll invite people to do freeform writing. And then I thought, well, maybe people don't want to do freeform writing, but maybe just want to do something. So I had this whole list of things. And I sent out the email. I mean, it could be moving, art, completions, organizing, whatever you want to do during that hour. And what happened was about 20 people showed up. They were all ministers except for one who's a USM person and knows all about us. And it was really sweet. What I got for me was just to spend the time doing completions. And I actually completed about 5 or 6 things that had been on my list for two of them for years. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. And at the very end, and plus emails I've gotten, people said, oh, thank you. I did this, I did that. And so I thought, whoa, maybe that's a new ministry of people said, I want to do it again. And I think I sent it to a couple of you here. Whoever came to mind, I just sent the email out to. So I thought, I work better in a group. Like when I've had people here or when I have people here, I clean up. But when I'm by myself, it's like, yeah, I don't know. And it's a really big place for those of you who have been here. And because I kind of live in every room, I've got papers in every room, clothes in every, it's like, it's just not consolidated yet. But that process seems to have started. And I'm excited to see what unfolds in this year, because particularly since I audited Insight 2, my whole inner life has shifted. And it's beginning to show up in my outer life. You know, how the outer is reflected by the inner. So I'm super excited because I've been doing things that have been on my list to do for eons, and they're finally getting done. So light to whatever unfolds for me, whatever unfolds for all of us as this year, which I just have a feeling it's going to be a good year, and hopefully in me, I get that, and hopefully in the world and resolution. I don't know, but when two or more are gathered, even if we're not consciously talking about praying and sending the light, my sense is spirit's using us. So, you know, we can talk about completions or getting old, and my sense is spirit's using us to send the light where it needs to be sent. So thanks for doing this, Cheryl and Karen. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Freddie. Nice is that I know that I can. It's not about time. It's not about quantity, but quality. If there's something that I've always wanted to be or do, like I can just experience that just today. If I just did it today, if I wanted to be happy or peaceful or accept myself or love myself more, I just did it today. That would be good enough. I'd have to do it for 40 years. No expectation of time today. Anybody else before we close for today?
I'll jump in here. I'm David. I'm just going to piggyback on the thread and kind of energy, Cheryl, that you were just speaking to, which is if I just did it today, it would be enough. I'm also currently having this experience. If I just do it in this minute, it's enough. And, you know, specifically, that's showing up for me with having a more acute appreciation of my tendency to overthink things that doesn't necessarily serve me. But at any rate, an offset for me with that overthinking is simply the awareness of dropping into sensory awareness of my body and simply taking a relaxed, deep breath, which is really just a couple seconds, and can provide me that experience of enough. So lovely being here with folks. I look around and it's like, wow, my people. So happy New Year. And I'll just do one other thing. I jumped in late because I just started doing that 12 o'clock intercessory prayer group. It's 12 to 12:15 every day. It's such an international group. It is lovely.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
I have to check that out. I haven't been on that call, but if it's new at 12, is it, we might want to move our time to 12:15 so we can make room for everything. We'll check it out.
Yeah.
David, what's
Anyway.
the address?
Say it again.
What is the address for that?
The Zoom address.
Is it a heartfelt call?
It's a Zoom. It's apparently, and Heartfelt, yeah, is sending out the announcement there are 3 or 4 ongoing Zoom intercessory prayer gatherings, and I think they're 15 minutes. I know Connie Stomper's doing one. This one's out of France. Nancy, I'll forward that to you.
If you would, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
What address or what's your email?
I just put it in the chat.
I'll just say it out loud. Thanks. So it's Nancy, it's all lowercase, Nancy Now Prod 50
Nancy Now.
PROD, yes. Nancy Now Prod
Okay.
7.
I'm sorry. Nancy Now Prod at.
No, Nancy Now Prod 57
Okay.
at gmail.com.
Got it. Yeah, I'll forward that to you and it'll give you the choice.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and if they're doing it every day, that's like what we're talking about, is how to have completion every day, how to be like a reminder every day. And then when we're doing it with a group, it's easier. You got accountability, got the reminder, you got the joy, group dynamics. So we can always add to what works. So just close with some light. Lord God, we give so much thanks for the opportunity to be together. And we take this moment to asking to wipe our slate clean. Anything that we are ready to let go of, may that just go into the nothingness from where it came. And we see you hugging us and smiling and saying, it's time. It's your time. And we just take a breath and feel our feet on the ground and love in our hearts as we go forward to this next day, one day at a time. And today is enough. I love you all. Thank you for joining. Thanks for sending your lights to the group and the universe, making this world a better place.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Thanks,
All right.
Cheryl.
Thank
Bless
you,
you all.
Cheryl.
Love you all.